Hello and welcome to Dragon Talk. We are back with Shelly Mazanoble.
Hi.
You've returned.
I've returned.
You were in Origins.
I was on strike.
Oh.
I wanted you guys to have a better story for why I wasn't here.
What do you mean?
Like, I could have been like, she quit. She didn't like being live on Dragon Talk. She's holding out for hair and makeup, and she won't be back until you provide a new wardrobe.
Well, we can go with that one if you want.
And then, no, it was all just like, oh, yeah, she's home watching The Housewives because she was at Origins.
Well, we like to tell the truth here
It
on
was
the Dragon
not the
Talk.
truth.
What were you watching?
Southern Charm.
Totally different.
Oops, sorry.
Totally different. That's awesome. Well, you were at Origins and you were like rocking the house.
Origins was so much fun.
Was it?
Yeah, it was such a good show. It's smaller show, still like over 10,000 people. But
yeah.
It's but you can play games and you don't have to really wait in a lot of lines, and it's not super crowded. You're not just like elbowing people out. And I actually got to see games like I found this great Goonies adventure system card game.
Oh, cool.
That I got for Bart for Father's Day.
Is he a big Goonie fan?
Yes, we both are.
Does he know how to do the truffle shuffle?
He totally does. So now you're going to need him to host again. So
Sweet.
he can do that.
That's what we're going to start with. We're going to go with that one first.
Considering I was like flying home on Father's Day, it was like a good last minute.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, but people were super excited about Betrayal at Baldur's Gate. That's why I went. I hijacked a table in the D&D ballroom.
You just like moved everything aside. Screw these D20s. Get them out of here.
Yeah, just move it.
Yeah.
And then, so we played a couple times a day. Had a nice group of people come join me, and they loved it.
Nice.
It was really scary at first, for the first 2 minutes of the first demo. Because I realized, I've never actually seen this game played outside of our building. What if they don't like it? Or
what did they like it? Did they like it?
They did. And it was really fun to like watch people discover the things that we have been taking for granted for like the past 5 months because we've been playing it.
Right, like all the stuff about the Elf Song Tavern and how there's details in it.
Yeah, and of course I told everyone, like, mats are not sad. We had to put the beholder behind the bar.
That's cool.
And
so I'm sensing a trend here where things that you get like scared about end up being like amazing and everyone like loves it. Similar to Dragon Talk being streamed live.
Oh my God, you made me remember again.
I know, right? There's people right there. They're looking at you.
I met people who listen to Dragon Talk.
They exist. They're out there in the world.
And I went through like an entire demo with someone, and then he was all like, "Oh, can you do your burp?" Oh,
no way, really? You got like a request?
Yeah, like you didn't tell me you listened. So of course
sweet.
I was like, "My pigeon." And then I didn't know that Holly.
Now you're gonna have to like cosplay as Bert.
Okay, Holly Conrad.
Yeah.
Did you know she rescues pigeons?
No.
You didn't know this about her?
No.
Okay, she's like decked out in pigeon stuff. She has like pigeon pins, pigeon earrings. She had a pigeon t-shirt on, probably has pigeon tattoos, and she rescues pigeons.
I did not know that.
She loves pigeons.
That's everything. I find out new details about Holly Conrad like all the time, and I'm like, oh my God, that's so amazing.
She's really fun.
There is so like, have you ever seen her? Like she took a picture of her. I've talked about this before. Of her shelf. And it was like about a specific thing on her shelf that she was tweeting about. But I just loved the shelf, like the design of it. There was like cobwebs in one corner that she had put there, and like this thing, and like a geode over here, and like things. It was just really like awesome. It was like, oh, this looks like what a wizard's shelf would look like, and it's just in her house. Like it's amazing.
Her and Danny were fascinating people. We went out to dinner one night. They were kind of at the other end of the table, and I was like, I don't care if this is rude. I'm going to just start screaming over the table because I want to know everything about them. Like,
nice. Like,
I didn't know Holly was on a reality TV show.
Oh, yeah?
Did you know that?
I think she...
About cosplaying or creating...
Yeah. Face on? No, not that one. The one that's about makeup.
No, I think it was more about costumes.
Well, we're going to get Holly on this podcast pretty soon to talk about Strix and all about her character.
Like barraging her with questions.
Well about the goblins that she made for Stream of Annihilation.
I love them.
Yeah, we're going to get all down to
it's
the
so funny
nitty-gritty on
to
that.
see like these goblins and then
talk to real
who's,
people.
who's in them.
I know, right?
Like
It is
after you get
strange.
to know those two, they're adorable, and I love them.
So we have an interview with Quinn Murphy
Yes.
coming up. But before that, we got to talk about, because Betrayal of Baldur's Gate is coming out in October 6th.
Yes.
Yes, I'm excited about that.
Me too.
Some people, you might see some like real live play articles coming out. People got a chance to play it over at Origins, right? Those are going to be coming out
Yeah,
now.
they were taking pictures of it. They were texting their friends.
Nice. So go look for that. We'll have more stuff about that coming up over the next few bits.
Probably a lot.
Tomb of Annihilation, our new storyline, comes out on September 19th all over the world wide. But in game stores before that, September 8th. So go ahead and check that out. We'll be doing previews of the Tomb of Annihilation storyline on this here very Twitch channel over the whole summer. Some of those weekly shows have been going. So Girls Guts Glory, I've been talking to them every Thursday for the last two Thursdays. And their new storyline has been rolling out some ideas. They're exploring kind of Port Nyanzaru and what's going on in Schult. We have a new one of those coming up on Thursday at 2 p.m. And we got a couple more premieres going on this week as well.
It's like premiere week on D&D Twitch.
Exactly. What is coming up next? Maze Arcana, 7 p.m.s at Pacific time on Tuesdays and on Wednesdays.
Yeah, so you're paying for your buck with that one.
DM by Satine Phoenix and Rudy Rutenberg on those 2 consecutive nights. And then Misclick's D&D Risen is happening Wednesday at 4 p.m. Pacific time. So go check that out. It's DM'd by Naja Otakor, and it looks pretty fantastic.
That's going to be fun.
And I already mentioned Girls Guts Glory on Thursday. And then on Friday, we'll be starting at 12 noon Pacific time. High Rollers Uncharted Territory is going to be debuting. So go check that out as well. Again, that's all on our Twitch channel. Those of you listening on the audio, feel free to go there. It's twitch.tv/DND. And if you're interested in how we record this live, you can watch us, me and Shelly.
Watching the sausage get made.
Doing it on Mondays, 2 p.m. Pacific time. We won't be doing next Monday,
I was going to ask about
July
that.
3rd, because the offices will be closed down. But we'll be back the following one, which is July 10th, because I can add 3 and 7 to make 10. I know.
And that's because, isn't it your daughter's birthday?
Oh, July 9th.
That's right.
July 9th is my daughter's birthday.
Yeah.
Yes. Some other fun stuff.
RSVPing, by the way.
Oh, you're coming?
Yeah.
Sweet. It's going to be all Betrayal Baldur's Gate themed.
Totally. That's her gift.
She's Bale. She's totally Bale. She looks like me. Some other fun things that are happening. WizKids Icons of the Realms from Tomb of Annihilation. The minis are all coming out this July 26th. So
soon.
Go check that out. Right, exactly. You'll get all the minis that are going to be coming. There's some evergreen ones, but also some ones that are specific for Tomb of Annihilation.
So soon.
Yeah, exactly.
You get them early.
And even sooner is, I know it's on here somewhere. Oh, yes, Neverwinter, Tomb of Annihilation, July 25th is coming out on PC. So it'll be really your first chance to interact with that storyline. Will be in Neverwinter. And you'll travel to Chult and get all the fun stuff that's going on there. Chris Perkins has been doing some voice acting for that, too. So you have to make sure and check that out.
That man is just, his talents are endless.
I believe he's voicing Volo, which would be pretty exciting.
Oh,
yeah.
To get him to do his Volo voice.
Yeah, exactly, his Volo voice. I think that's true. I'm not 100% on that, but it'd be pretty cool if it happens.
So he
go check that out.
played Betrayal at Baldur's Gate at Origins live.
He did?
Which he doesn't play many board games, he said. He said
Really?
he's not good at board games.
Interesting.
So he's never played the original Betrayal at House on the Hill. So I was like, I have to teach you a game? I had to teach Chris Perkins a game.
You're like the rules master.
That is like teaching Matt Mercer how to do Bert from Sesame Street voice.
Do you remember that time when you tried to be like, I have the voice acting, and he nailed Kermit right afterwards?
Yeah, and then he made a face like this first.
We don't know. That was before we were streaming. We didn't know that was happening.
No, in person.
Oh, he did it too in person?
He did it to me in person.
Oh, no.
What do we do if I start choking and dying? Does it hurt your ears if I cough into the microphone?
Perfect. All right. Well, that's Ryan, our sound engineer, who is reveling in all of our wonderful sound effects right now.
Sorry.
We'll be...
I'm crying out of my right eye.
As you should
Only
be.
you can see it. It's facing you.
I want to throw some garbage at your face.
What?
You know the old PSA where there's like the Indian walking and they throw garbage
oh
and he's got
God,
this
that was
about littering and how horrible it
heartbreaking.
was? Yeah, I know.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. That's what's happening to you right now.
It is. I'm thinking about litter. What I was going to say before I started choking was we are adventuring in Schult now.
That's right. We are.
We know things.
That's true. Bart Carroll is dungeon mastering us through a little, sidetrack through Chult.
Yeah.
Or it's
Just
the
a
main
little
trek.
jaunt.
Yeah. And
Kind of like Costa Rica, or how I imagine Costa
we are
Rica.
two catfolk. We are
Tabaxi.
Yes. Do you want to tell them what your character's name is?
Well, I'm kind of following how Tabaxi are typically named, except for someone. My character's name is Drunky Two Shoes.
And I am Daryl Two Shoes, and my other cousin Daryl Two Shoes.
My brother, Daryl. We have another brother, Daryl.
There's got to be another brother Daryl that
gotta be.
Bart's going to have to show up.
Maybe, yeah. Okay, no, I was going to spoil something. Okay.
Don't spoil it. Awesome. So, yes, I can't wait to get to our interview with Quinn Murphy. But before we do that, we have a segment of Sage Advice in which I sat down with Jeremy Crawford and asked him about some fun D&D rules. So go take a listen to that right about now. Hello. We are now recording. We're going to try a new thing where we're streaming. While streaming, we're going to be talking to someone over Skype. We've done this, obviously, a bunch of times on Dragon Talk before in the past when it was just audio. But now that we're doing video, it's a whole added wrinkle. Eventually, we would like to get into actually video conferencing them so you can see their faces as we're doing this. But for right now, it's going to be audio only.
That'll be great.
You're like editing that as you're saying it. That'll be fantastic. That'll be wonderful. All right, so yeah, let's go ahead and call. Did you want to do an outro? Is that what you're trying to look at me to do? All right, that's what I thought I was doing, and then right. See, this is Ryan's directions to me. Is like, that was wonderful talking to Jeremy, wasn't it?
So good.
I'm really good at talking to Jeremy.
You're so good. That's like my favorite part about talking to Jeremy is you talking to Jeremy.
What did you think about the things we talked about?
I thought that's really cool and like enlightening, and I didn't know some of those things.
And now you know.
And now I know.
That's right.
The more I know,
the more you can learn about the magic items.
Yes, because I am a sorcerer.
You are, in your own right.
Yes.
Coming up, we're going to talk to another amazing person and hopefully learn a lot more things that we didn't know ahead of time.
Why are we prolonging this agony?
I don't know. Let's get him on the phone right away.
To him.
We're going to get Quinn Murphy on our Skype channel right about now. Oh, it's happening. Hello.
What if it's not happening?
It's not happening. We're trying for it to happen.
That was a really good Skype impression you just did, Ryan.
He answered. Oh, and he hung up. Technical difficulties are always a possibility here. Again, we're trying new stuff, so thank you for bearing with us. It's always a fun thing to add in just like one wrinkle.
It's got him. Well, that's how you know it's live.
Exactly. Yeah, we're live.
Tell us about your camping trip. Hey, it was Greg's birthday yesterday.
It was my birthday yesterday. We went to Mount Rainier, Cougar Rock Campground.
Oh.
Yeah, it was.
Was there a bunch of ladies there drinking Pinot Grigio?
Exactly. Yeah, there were mostly Erin and her friends.
Yes, there were.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. We played D&D around a campfire. One of them really wanted to play Dungeons & Dragons.
Really?
He's like, this is a bucket list thing to play it around a campfire.
Were you the DM?
I was. Yeah, it was good times. A lot of fun. All right, we're trying again.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yay!
Yeah, it was like a weird thing with these with the headphones. They have a built-in mic, and they sometimes don't. I have to actually explicitly tell it I want to use that.
Oh yeah, no, I've had that problem where you think you got everything all set up, and then you're like, oh wait, I forgot to do the one thing that I needed to turn it on.
Yeah.
No worries at all.
Yeah, exactly.
This is Greg, and we have Shelley on the line as well.
Hi, Quinn.
Hey, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Doing great.
And we are streaming now, but I think
it's happening.
We can do a little bit of just making sure everything works before we get into the interview for real. So where are you calling from?
I am calling from my co-working space in Lowell, Massachusetts.
Oh.
I got a little I have like a little I just got a little conference room because it's sort of the kids by my office at home, my home office, like playing out in the summer now. So I couldn't guarantee it would be quiet there. So I thought, hey, I'll just stay a little later.
That makes sense.
That's nice.
Right.
I know Lowell, Massachusetts. Do you have a hockey team in Lowell? Like an
We
AHL team?
It's like the it's like
farm
a
team?
do we we might.
I feel like I've seen...
I'm not the best person to ask on hockey, but I mean I know we have like an arena and that we do have like I know that there are some I know our college has it, and I bet you we probably have
I
some
think
sort
you
of
do, because I think my hometown in upstate New York, Binghamton.
Go Binghamton.
I think that when I go home, occasionally I sometimes can see hockey games, and I feel like I've seen the Lowell Devils or the Lowell Trash Monsters or something.
Trash Monsters? They're OTUGs?
Maybe.
the Lowell,
that's a good name.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, that's just it's sounding familiar. Lowell, Massachusetts.
Yeah.
Or maybe it's because you're from there, the hometown of Quinn Murphy.
Exactly. And Jack Kerouac's from here.
Oh, well, and him.
He's our big export, or he was.
Wait, he's not still being exported from there?
Every town's got one.
Awesome. So did you have any questions before we got started? I mean, as far as what we're going to talk about?
No, I'm ready for anything.
Sweet. All right. Well, then I'll just go ahead and introduce us, and we'll do it for reals.
All right. Sounds great.
And what do you think, chat? Do you think the sound is okay on your end? Everything good? I always forget that we're actually streaming. So yeah, it's always good to get real audio support from the people who are listening to it right now.
Hey, people on stream.
Oh, we can see it there. We can see what you're saying. So keep it nice. Someone said happy birthday, Craig.
Thank you. Thank you, guys.
Oh, is it your birthday?
It was yesterday, yeah.
Oh, well, happy birthday.
I am 75 years old.
Sounds good.
Okay, good. Great. Awesome. We are so happy to have Quinn Murphy joining us for the Dragon Talk podcast. How you doing, sir?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
No problem. So you kind of caught my eye because I was following you on Twitter for a long time, and you always had really interesting things about talking about game design as well as kind of story and RPG kind of ways to improve it going forward. So that was one of the big reasons why we wanted to have you on this podcast. And could you tell us maybe like what was your first kind of experience with Dungeons and Dragons? It's always a good way to get into
so my first experience, I was just thinking about it the other day, this weekend. I've been involved in RPGs for like 30 years. It's kind of crazy to think about. And my first experience was I couldn't even play them. It was watching my brother, who was about 7 years older than me, play, and I was in about first grade, and I was not old enough to, especially with the risque stuff they put in the older books that day, could not touch, could not look at it. But I really, I'd watch him and his friends. They'd have little minis, and they're talking about all this crazy stuff going on. I wanted in. And so all I had to do was wait a few years for him to get kind of, bored of it.
Right.
And
And then I got to inherit his stuff. Except now here's the funny thing, and this might be why every year I think about more and more of it, and I think this is why I design games, is that so the thing that he had given to a friend, the crucial thing, we had almost all the other books, Fiend Folio, like Monster Manuals 1, 2, do we have 3 at that time? No, I think we got that later, but all of this other stuff, but he didn't have the DM's guide.
Oh, interesting.
Which had all the rules for like experience points, magic treasure, psionics, like a lot of critical rules that you needed to get there. But I was still obsessed. So I basically, and this is way, way before Amazon could deliver you anything that you needed the next day.
Right.
Right. And the nearest place near me just didn't get the DM's guide for a really long time. I don't know why they were so bad. It's like I asked them for it and they just never got it. When they get one copy and then somebody would buy it immediately. And so for about a year and a half, I had to reverse. I ended up being the GM, and I ended up reverse engineering as much as I could the rules to figure out how we sort of were gonna play and stuff. We
Yeah.
played a lot, and when I finally got the DM's guide, I was really surprised. It was funny the kind of stuff I got wrong, but I was pretty amazed at kind of what I got right by inference.
Yeah,
That is pretty cool.
intuitive.
I bet that really did shape your like game designer brain too, to have to, you know.
That's an interesting way to go about it.
Yeah, like here's the tables and then here's the connective tissue that you have to make up. And I bet that really cemented, you know, how you'd think about them going forward.
Right, and then it's a kind of weird thing that I think only a young kid could do. Right, I was about 11 at the time. Right, so
Right.
you have the time and there wasn't a
imagination.
ton else going on. Right, and they had all this imagination to fill. I don't know if somebody's like, hey, here's a half a rule set. These days, if I'd spend much time on it, but at that time, that was just sort of a big portion of what I did.
So you said you ended up being the DM, but did you ever get to play once with your older brother?
Man, he was so far out of it. By the time I got into it, we've never played.
Interesting.
I've talked to him about stuff, and he's been sort of happy, sort of following up and seeing what I did with it. He moved on and he does other things, and he was interested in to see what I did with it.
Mhm.
But yeah, we never played.
Huh. Yeah, that's similar to me. My older brother was about 9 years older than me. And
Okay.
it was, I think it was actually the Dungeon Master's Guide was the only book that he had, and it was on the shelf. And I remember flipping through it and being kind of similar to you and like making up what the rest of the rules were in my head. I never actually played when I was that young either. But out of all of my family, I'm the only one who's still doing something that's in that realm. Like my brother just doesn't really get into that kind of stuff.
Huh.
That's his problem.
Righto.
So the things that you interpreted wrong or guessed wrong, when you learned the actual rules, did you stick with the actual rules or were you like, man, my rule's way better?
Well, I mean, some of the stuff that I like got wrong or like missed were stuff like encumbrance. Like in some details of like there are lots of like the DM guide had there was some stuff in the player's handbook with it, but there's like really detail of like all these states and conditions you could go in. A lot of those, when I looked at them, I'm like, hey, I'm not going to use this, right? Like no one, because it just was this extra logistical tax on the game. I'm trying to remember one. It's sort of a blur which ones I missed, but I definitely remember that there were some that I was like, oh, that's how that worked, right? Like,
Right.
whoops, guys. Oh, we're gonna completely change how we play starting now because this is not how it goes. And then but then other stuff where I was like, okay, like this is pretty close, or like I got this. I looked enough, because in the same time too, I was actually I'd buy adventures, and I buy every book I could because I couldn't buy the DM's guide, and so
Yeah.
I would just read them, trying to again just sort of figure out by proxy, like triangulate on all these modules and supplements. So like there were some that I got pretty good. So.
That's super cool. Yeah, I love that there was enough there in the stuff that you had that you could infer the rest of it from. I think that's
You were meant to be a game designer.
exactly right. So then, when did you think about doing this kind of more as a concentration?
It was always a thing running in the back of my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Growing up. I would, when I was younger, I just sort of would always half design some system and just leave it there. I was always trying to make some new thing. And if you're GMing a lot, of course you're already participating in game design.
Yeah.
Right. When you're making adventures
Yeah.
and, coming up with your house rules, that's game design. And then it really, it came kind of weirdly because it wasn't really until like way later down the road. My day job is in tech, and but I just still had an interest. 4th edition D&D came out,
Mm-hmm.
and I got really into it, and a bunch of my friends got really into it, and I just started writing about, at first just some of the stuff I was doing with it, and then I came up with a lot of different tweaks about it. For 4th ed that worked for me, worked in my brain, and I was just like, I'll just share this stuff. And I had a site. It was called At Will, and the I started doing some stuff, and then some people started to pick up on it and go, "Hey, that's pretty cool, that stuff you shared." And then it just started picking up, and I was doing things or at least stuff that people were pretty interested in, and then I got uh, like lots of different. I started getting some offers to write some stuff. I think the first time I got published in a thing was the Kobold Quarterly, I believe.
Good old Wolfgang.
Yep.
Give you your first
He's
shot.
always with us, even when he's not.
Wolfgang's awesome, and then did also like a published like a full-on adventure with them, and then it just started. I just started publishing from there. I started freelancing a lot, and and then from there it just as then I started kind of trying to release some of my own stuff, and it just started to snowball from there. So it was really through kind of blogging, like you just sort of I just kept writing and writing and writing and doing things, and it happened.
It's funny too because you're talking about the era of fourth edition, where I think blogging was also hip then. I feel like everyone was talking about blogging 10 years ago as being like, this is going to change everything, and in some areas it did, and I think D&D design is one of them where people like you were able to expound about different parts of the rules and add your little tweaks and things like that actually ended up improving the gameplay for a lot of people. But we've been talking to a lot of folks here on Dragon Talk, and fourth edition isn't always the time when people start, is what I'll say. So what was it about that rule set that drew you in? Was it just kind of like the moment you were in your life, or was there something specifically about that? You mentioned tech as a background, so maybe that part of it clicked with you.
Yeah, well, it's so fourth edition is a very interesting thing, right? So third edition, I had played a bunch of third edition, and it got into a point where this third edition was just very heavy. There was like all these points of articulation and different it had so many. I didn't even have all of the third ed books, but I had so many of them, and you're going through all the different books. It was pretty hard, right? And one of the things I liked about fourth ed, now people didn't like the to them it was more video game like. But to me, I saw overall at the core kind of an elegant sort of rule set. The powers are a different thing because they would add a lot of different too much choosiness, right?
Right.
I had to sort of hack that for my own games to reduce that so people could sort of make the relevant decisions. But underneath that, there's this sort of very simple to understand system, and the blank parts of it were the parts that you could fill with role playing and sort of for me it was just this pretty great toolkit for stuff, and it was very easy to make a character that was decent without like going through and optimizing all this other stuff. You could make a character you wanted that worked relatively easy, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, that was definitely a strength of it, where it didn't matter what kind of character that you wanted to play, it wasn't going to be underpowered based on your decisions. You were always going to have something that was at least effective in battle.
Right, and a lot of the stuff I feel that and then there were skill challenges, which I did a lot with.
I always loved skill challenges, yeah.
But they were a very controversial thing, right? Some people really didn't like them, but I really saw a lot of promise in them and sort of did a lot of stuff with that. And
yeah. So what are let's talk a little bit about some of those things that you did. What did you?
I did a lot of skill challenge work on the site. The skill challenges I did often broke from the standard rules procedure, and so I do lots of ways of structuring when you make the skills checks, and also the different contexts to it, or like I did things like One of my favorites. My favorite, actually. Not one of my. It is my favorite.
The unqualified, it is your favorite.
Yeah, it is my favorite. So sorry, other skill challenge children. I have a favorite.
Do you have a favorite?
I love you all equally well, except for this one, which is better than you.
Yeah. It was You Bet Your Life, and it was a thing where it was based off. I'm also an anime nerd, so it was based off of this JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, where they are going up against this poker player who, if you lose against him, he sort of this magical being comes out and turns your soul into a poker chip that he puts in his collection. And it was a skill challenge where you're basically gambling against this guy, trying to basically get out there with sort of your soul intact. That was my favorite one.
That's kind of neat.
In different ways, and it was a way to give your skills and your non-combat stuff the same kind of weight that your combat abilities would have.
Yeah, that's why I thought skill challenges did the best, was like really surfacing those, diplomacy or deception or things like that. It was a way to gamify that. But
right.
There was definitely some skill needed in the dungeon master to not make it feel like you were going through hoops, right?
Yeah. I mean, I often felt that there's a version of fourth ed that is in my head that is not in many other people's heads. That I've had people who were like, oh, this fourth ed thing, blah blah blah, and they sit down and they're cynical about it, and they sit down and they play with me like maybe I'm running an adventure at a con or something like that, and then by the end they're like, okay, right, like I didn't know that we could actually do that, and I was like, yeah, you can, right, but unfortunately being in my head isn't really great for a game's longevity, right?
It needs to be out there in the world,
right? Exactly.
So with your background in tech, I saw something maybe on your website, maybe on Twitter, but you were talking about how you use tech to enhance tabletop games. How do you do that?
Oh man, I've done so much stuff with that. I for some reason I seem to be the king of dead or soon to be dead technologies. Like I used to do a lot of gaming on Wave back in the day. If you remember that.
What's Wave? I don't know what that is.
It's an old Google technology that was like a.
Oh yeah. Oh, I didn't know you were talking about Google Wave. Yeah, Google Wave was great because it was like this combination of email and chat, or at least
right. And you could live edit the pages. It was neat, but and I've used things like Fantasy Grounds, stuff like that. These days, a lot of what I like it for, the simple but effective things I like tech for is being able to obviously Google Docs. I play a lot online these days, and so you can do so much with Skype or Google Hangouts and an online die roller and Google Docs and Google Maps there for just shared documents and stuff. But I also like using Pinterest for games or for collecting like images and stuff, and for people to sort of sometimes I'll have when we're doing sort of the setup thing for people to include, I might say to a player, hey, include to me some images from like your home area that you think are there.
That's really good.
Make a collage of your home area or something.
Right. Yeah. Like make a vision board for the world.
Yeah.
And use it there. So a lot of what I use technology for these days is basically to sort of collect and collaborate kind of creative bits, so then we can kind of just use them as we will in the course of play.
So you're playing in a campaign right now. You're DMing currently.
Right now, I'm actually getting back into Fifth. I was sort of the stuff around fourth ed was pretty crazy for a while, and I kind of took a break, and it's only been a little bit ago that I'm getting back into Fifth. I'm really liking what I see from it, so I'm going to be starting one soon.
Oh, cool.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what were some of the fun things that you were thinking about adding to, not just with Dungeons and Dragons, but all like tabletop role playing, like figuring out, because it seems like your work with the skill challenges was part of this too, is figuring out a way to increase or gamify, the social interaction of a campaign.
Yeah, I mean, an interesting thing. So I've in my own personal work right now, I've been releasing some games and just very very different from they are not the type of games that you'd think a person who is a fourth ed designer would make, but that to sort of explore what we can do with less rules but different structures, and because it to me, so there are a couple of things. One, I think the human mind is probably the best graphics card on the planet, right? And that one of the things that keeps me playing role playing games and keeps me coming back and designing and trying to sort of offer stuff for people is to make those things that get rendered out in those games better, and that how you render in an RPG is through conversation, right? Like I think that being a good GM is a lot like being a good conversationalist.
Yeah.
Right. Knowing how to include people in the conversation, talk about your stuff, but in terms that will interest them, and how to sort of create an area for exchange, because everyone's had everyone's had a great conversation where at the end of it you're just like, I would have never, if I was sitting around myself, talked about these topics in these ways, but because I had these great people around me, we had this great conversation, and this other thing emerged from it.
Synthesis, right?
Yes, right. And there's an emergent sort of, where everything's greater than the sum of its part to a conversation, and at a table too. At when you're playing a game, right? The best moments in a game are just, the rules kind of give you these constraints on what conversation you're having, and so you're working in them and trying to break out of them. And when it's working, at the end, you're just like, wait, how did this happen? Right? It was a weird die roll, and then an interesting choice, and then a great explanation, right? All those things sort of fold on each other. And that's sort of what I keep trying to heighten, that sort of spontaneous thing that comes from all the rules and dice rolls.
Well, how do you do that through mechanics then, rather than just being like, be a good conversationalist?
Yeah, it's interesting. I find that it, and I might be splitting hairs here, but I find that some of the best ways to get these moments are to change the structure and not necessarily the mechanics, or just to give the mechanics new context. So if you are, for example, like you might say you have your to hit roll with your weapon, and what if you are, instead of using it, trying to think of like a way that sort of shifts what the thing is, like maybe you're piloting some giant golem, right? And because you have you're powered into it and hooked into it, it's an extension of you, and so now you're sort of making these hit rolls, but you're making them for the giant golem, right? And it's not a big mechanic change, right? We haven't changed the mechanic at all, right? We just put you inside of a giant golem, and hopefully something cool is happening on the other side of that. And sort of just changing those kind of things. And when I do change mechanics, I try and find a way to keep it. The one thing, like I can give a good example from fourth edition. I made a mechanic called World Breaker, which has some similarities to the legendary villain stuff now, with the special environmental rules.
Oh, right, okay.
And what a World Breaker was basically, it was just me being jealous, looking at my wife on a raid fight one day, and I was just like, I was like, why don't I get to do this? Like, why don't I get to fight like some huge monster, and all these, like, there's these great set pieces, right? We're fighting the first stage, and these monsters are coming out, and this is happening, and then the next stage, the monster's flying, and all these things are happening, everything's sort of moving and stuff. And I was like, I want to do that. And And ultimately through lots of iteration and play and design, um, you know, because if you make a rule different, and this is sort of my really big rule of rules hacking and tweaking. If you make
Mm.
a rule that's not like something else in the game, then you're adding a burden to try the cool thing.
Mm.
So you need to try and make it as close to the rules as written, right? Like use the idiom of the rules or and do things in the style of the rules, so
Yeah.
people focus on your cool thing and not, oh, what was this different rule again?
Right. And that was definitely true of designing for fourth edition, if I remember correct.
Yes.
Like it really, I mean, I did some, third party work in that era as well. And I heard this remarked a few times from people who are writing for it, that it actually was more fun to design for some people than it was to play, because it had this wonderful framework to come up with new powers and new things. And you could kind of feel like you were creating something but it was completely brand new, but it was using the exact like nomenclature of how each power was designed and doing that. So that made a lot of sense. You almost needed to do that in order for it to work with this system.
Yeah, exactly.
Cool. So you were basically making raid encounters.
Yeah, basically.
World of Warcraft style, I assume. Is that what your wife was playing?
Yeah, and it's interesting too because and I actually did a version of it for some creatures for 13th Age.
Uh-huh.
And those should be up on my site actually. And it ends up being like a cool way to tell a story. Like what happened was, the interesting thing is you'd hear somebody would go, well, I played with this World Breaker and my characters were like super hyper powerful and they destroyed it in 2 turns, but holy cow, they like were freaking out at all the stuff that was happening whilst they were destroying this monster. And then other people who had like total party wipes, but they were still having fun at, oh my god, what is this thing doing, right? Is that creating you can sort of focus on, and while you obviously don't want to just make everything super easy or super hard, focusing on that too much as opposed to, hey, I'm going to do something cool that you're going to be surprised at, I think is sort of where I try and focus.
Right. That makes sense.
Yeah. It sounds like, I mean, just from what I've read about you and seen you talking about on Twitter and all, which you're very active on. I see you being retweeted a lot. But what do you see the future for tabletop games? Where do you think games are heading, or who do you think is doing some new and innovative things?
Yeah, there's so many people doing great new and innovative things, but for where I think RPGs are going, you could say with technology and everything as it is that maybe they're gonna get sort of boxed out by this entertainment or that, but people have been saying that for as long as I've been playing them. And this hasn't happened. I think that RPGs are just going to get more popular. They're this great, really human game, right? They're a game that you can't really play them well without being around people, and without connecting to some degree or doing these things. So I think really what's bound to happen is as technologies get better for connecting us in real ways, we'll go through. I mean, almost all of my games these days happen online, even with people who live relatively nearby. It's just sometimes easier.
Yeah.
After work to just.
I don't want to get into a car and buy Cheetos and like head there like let's just.
I don't want to see people. I don't want pants on.
Yeah, right. I'm going to be wearing pajamas in my house.
And so I think there's just going to be more of that, and it will just be more online. We'll have to think of probably some new name because we have tabletop, but it's not really a tabletop if it's online. But a lot of the same rules apply. For new stuff that's out, man, it's hard to like isolate. Like I go through so much stuff. I mean, I've been playing in an Apocalypse World 2nd edition
Nice.
Game, which I just think is I just love it.
What is it about? Because who is it? Adam Coble plays that a lot as well. What is it about that game I think he designed it, right? Is that right? Also true?
No, that's Vincent Baker.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah. What is it
and,
about Apocalypse World that kind of floats your boat there?
well, it has a really rewarding way of structuring things for like improv play. Like you don't need to prepare much for it. Like a lot of the stuff comes from what moves that the players can make, and so the players are very active in just what's there. A person can go, hey, I'm gonna like, what do I know about this thing, and roll, and on a certain number you have to tell them some details, and so it's encouraging that it really encourages that when I talk about that give and take, it's really heavily on that just sort of give and take, and not focusing necessarily on the details, which are fine, but then sometimes that requires you to prep, or at least have something on hand, right? It's hard to run a it's hard to run a D&D adventure if you don't have at least like a stat block or something, right?
Yeah.
And so when I do that when I try and do improv for D&D, I basically kind of try and prep those things I'll need, so and get a couple cool set pieces and things. But Apocalypse World sort of is on a other level of detail where you're just sort of, it's more about that conversation.
Interesting. Cool. That I can definitely see that. I'm much more of an improv DM at this point now than I am like a prepped one. So maybe, yeah, I might want to dip into that. That sounds like fun. And kind of like, going off of Shelley's question, there's a question in chat from Ram Rapara. What sort of technology are you looking for to aid your games? You kind of answered this a little bit, but I was wondering if there's something else that you want to kind of think about.
Yeah. So one that, and I'm avoiding it because I'm kind of obsessive by nature, and so I know I'm going to fall into it when I get into it. So I've literally been pushing off, but I really think that VR
Yes.
is going to VR is going to change the game. I mean, have you seen Tabletop Simulator?
I have seen footage of it. I haven't actually experienced it.
I've been thinking about picking it up, and it just looks so cool, right? Because it's funny because I was talking about, hey, online, we can't call it tabletop because it's online.
Right.
But if you have something like VR and Tabletop Simulator, haven't you just introduced the table back into it, but just digitally? I think that's, and I don't know how close we are to that being a relevant kind of thing we can do.
Yeah.
But it seems like we're pretty close.
It does, and we have one partner that we're working with called Experiment 7, who just recently announced or released Dungeon Chess. So they basically they have a it's like a battle chess. Remember that game back in the day?
Yeah.
It's like battle chess, but with D&D monsters as the pieces, which I find super cool. But
that's awesome.
The really interesting part about their framework is that they basically created a game room, like a virtual game room, with a table. And Dungeon Chess is the first thing that they're kind of coming out with, but there's so many possibilities for playing just exactly what you're talking about, like whatever tabletop rules set that you can think of. I could imagine I'll jump into Quinn's game room and let's play with him in his game room. Each of us has our own avatar, and we all sit down at a virtual table, just play whatever game we want. It could be a board game, it could be chess, it could be D&D. So that sounds super exciting to me.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And then you can add a live action, immersive element to it too. And you could have people, interacting and going through. I mean, I think that is a definite place that it could go. That I'd like to see. It
reminds me of a Tad Williams sci-fi series called Otherland. Basically, had that kind of idea of what virtual worlds could be, and maybe just because I read it, back when I was a kid, it still cemented my idea of what it is, and then we're getting to that point right now, where it might actually be happening. We'll see. So here's one more question from chat. It just seemed to pop up, and it makes a lot of sense to me. Can you tell us about your game Radio Free Kaiju and how playtesting has shaped it over time? And this might be a planted question from Joe Hills.
Hey, Joe. So Radio Free Kaiju is a game about... it's about kaiju, but in a world where the monsters basically won. They're coming out, and we had to try to stop them. We threw everything at them. We even decided much to our chagrin, to try and sort of nuke them and go underground. And they're still like a lot of them are still there, and so we're underground now, and the monsters kind of own the surface of the earth. And one of the main ways we can kind of communicate in these underground settlements is through radio technology, and then the story is set up such that you're always kind of telling. They're like part radio drama, part sort of post-apocalyptic monster thing, and it's a way of telling these sort of mostly freeform. There's no the rules aren't very kind of what I call sort of a physics engine kind of thing. They're very like drama heavy for telling things of people trying to generally get from one settlement to another. What we call topsiders in the game. And over play testing, I use this mechanic called channels, mechanic/structure for basically giving different parts of the dangerous parts of the world to other players. It's sort of distributing the GM role in different scenes. And it's a cool idea, and it works somewhat. But it communicates whenever I was talking about earlier when you hack on a game, right? When you make a tweak on a game, you have to sort of do it in the game's engine, or you sort of make everybody more confused than happy.
Yeah.
Even when you do something new, you kind of have to really focus on communicating what it's doing and what it's not doing. And it didn't communicate that, so people who got it had a lot of fun with it, and people who didn't got really confused and didn't have a lot of fun. So that's one of been, and I'm trying to wrap that up now, and I'm hoping to have it done this week. But a lot of the thinking and work around that has been trying to make it clear so people could kind of get into what it is about and not be confused about what it's not about.
Nice. Yeah, that's basically playtesting in a nutshell, right? Where it's like where you think you're explaining some rule the way you think you're explaining it, and then
they're always surprised by what doesn't work or what people really like. Like, really? Or something. Yeah. But
but sometimes
that's why we do it.
Yeah, right. It makes sense in your head, but it may not make sense in others for sure. And I like that there's kind of a theme going on because you mentioned that example of controlling a golem. And I was like, oh, that's pretty much like a kaiju, or like a big giant robot. I'm sensing that you're a fan of those kind of stories.
I like big things, yeah.
Very cool. There was this, I remember hearing about this adventure that was a module back in the 80s or 90s, and it was explained to me like, kind of a D&D Die Hard situation where like you were touring a huge statue and you were like, going up through the different levels. There was like levels inside the statue because it was so huge. It was like Statue of Liberty level. And then everything goes wrong during the tour, and you kind of have to figure out what's happening, and and some mad wizard is gonna like bring this statue to life or something like that. But it was like,
oh my god,
yeah. And I remember like someone just described this adventure to me, 20 years ago, and it still is in my brain of like, what a cool adventure. And I don't remember the title of it, and so if anybody knows,
gonna remember.
Was it a basic D&D adventure?
It might have been, yeah.
It sounds vaguely familiar. I'm now gonna have to search the internet until I like find this now.
Do it
because it's oh my god, that's crazy.
Yeah, let me know. Email me or put it up on the Twitters because I want to share it with people because it was like, oh man, I want to replay it and see if I can convert it to fifth and kind of
see if it holds up.
Yeah, exactly. Because there's something about that fun, cool idea of being trapped inside a giant monster.
On a tour.
On a tour.
The tour has gone terribly wrong.
Yeah, exactly. We're just adventuring tourists.
That's what I'm picturing. Yeah. Oh, this is great. Get your cameras.
Awesome. Well, cool, Quinn. It was really good talking to you. I love picking your brain on game design.
A lot of ideas. I have actually a really important question.
What's your important question?
Yeah.
How do you like the name Quinn?
I like it, although it does set me up to these weird Highlander situations where someone's like, "Oh, I know Quinn," was just like, "You did, right? Like I have to go."
You did.
I have to go. Yeah, like.
Oh no.
There could be only one, right? It's just rare enough that I get very territorial. Like I enjoy being the only Quinn around.
Well, now you're kind of like.
I got bad news for you, buddy. I asked because my son's name is Quinn.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. So it's you or him.
That was the perfect reaction. Oh, I love that you were like, oh no.
He's gonna be 4 next month, but I just I just want to know, are there any like things I should, like my name was really cool until I was 7, and then kids started comparing me to Highlander.
No, but then all of a sudden he just like, indirectly threatened.
Yeah, he kind of. There can be only one.
Now that I've revealed I'm the what's his name, the Kurgan, the bad Highlander of Quinn.
Oh, well.
But like, is that I never had any real issues with it. Though I guess sometimes I can talk quietly, so people would sometimes go Queen, right?
Oh.
And like I was saying my name is Queen or something, but that's it. Normally it's a pretty cool thing, and it's an easy name for a lot of people to remember.
It's hard to. I tried to find him like things with his name on it, like candy bars or license plates or toothbrushes. There's no Quinns out there, and that's not that uncommon, is it? You probably never had anything personalized.
Not unless it was like super, super custom.
You didn't even have Etsy growing up, so. It's really sad.
Nice. I knew a kid in high school with a last name Quinn. He was pretty cool. Yeah. So basically, the 3 people that I know with Quinn in it are pretty cool. So.
Are you counting my son in that?
No.
He's not cool.
Yes, of course.
He's the coolest.
He's the coolest out of everyone. Well, I don't know.
Except for this Quinn. Except for Quinn Murphy. I'm going to tell him he's got some competition.
Quinn, so where can people get in touch with you on Twitter or follow what your game design musings are and possibly try to challenge you to a duel?
So I'm on Twitter at QH_Murphy. The standard disclaimer is that I don't know how to use Twitter. So sometimes you're going to wake up and I'm going to have like a big long rant about something. I try and keep it very interesting, but that's
how you use Twitter.
Right.
And then online, thoughtcrimegames.net is where I have some stuff. I should have some stuff going up soon there. Been quiet for a while, starting a new job, but we'll have some. I've got some stuff brewing, so should be of interest.
Sweet. Awesome. Well, great. Thanks so much for talking to us, and I can't wait to see more as you get more into 5th. Let me know how your adventuring goes.
Sweet. Thank you very much for having me on.
Thank you. Talk to you later.
Yep.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, that was
really
great.
nice.
He was really nice. I didn't know that was going to go into Highlander territory there.
He's mostly Quinny. So.
Quinny, right, exactly. Oh, you're Quinny. But now Bart needs to have him grow up to be a warrior.
Yes.
So that he can defend
the
his
training
name.
Starts now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly. We're starting with Nerf weapons.
Yeah. He actually did, he kicked Bart in the throat pretty good the other day.
That's the way to do it, right? That's it's a weak point in
he knows where to go. He knows where to aim.
Amongst some other weak points, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. Yes, for sure.
Awesome.
No more siblings.
And he's going to have a birthday pretty soon, too.
Yes.
Oh, my gosh. He's going to be 45 years old.
45. Can't believe it.
I'm so glad he quit smoking.
I know, really.
Right. I know he was your inspiration for that old smoker voice that you did on the last episode.
Oh. The impressions are just flowing out of me now.
It's true.
Yeah.
Did you see Nathan was listening to Dragon Talk and
yes.
he specifically called out your old smoker voice?
No.
Yeah.
I didn't see that.
He said it was one of his faves.
I saw that he said that his dog fell asleep listening to us.
Well, we can't entertain. Most canines want to be entertained by us, but not all of them.
We don't appeal to the canines.
Not all canines all the time.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Anything else you want to kind of talk about before we close this mother out?
No. No.
All right. Well, Betrayal at Baldur's Gate is happening on October 6th.
Yeah.
We were just talking about Nathan.
Did you hear us? Are you listening to us?
Yes.
Oh my God.
Stop. No, come back.
He's always wanted to do that, is to come in and say, "Stop the presses." Oh, that was amazing.
Nathan. Oh, wait, he's not back at his desk yet.
Yeah, we got to wait like about 5 minutes for him to get back to his desk.
He
should have come onto the frame. That's totally what you should do. All right, so you horrible people who are listening to this audio only, you have to watch us on Mondays, 2 p.m. Pacific time. It's the only way you're going to get all this hilarity. I Yeah. And hilarity is a generous term. Let's say that.
Super funny.
Very generous. Shelly, how can people bother you on the lines?
On the Twitters?
Yes.
Shelly Moo. Look for Shelly Moo.
That's right. Are you on the Facebooks or Avalon Hill?
Yep. The Avalon Hill 2, number 2 on the Twitters.
Electric Beast.
Avalon Hill. Did you see what somebody designed the
I think it was
title?
Wolfgang actually did
Was it
that.
him?
Yeah.
It's so good.
It's so good.
Yeah. So find Avalon Hill also on Facebook or Twitter, and find me also on Facebook. I have a little writer page.
You do?
Yeah. Don't look for like the regular me. So boring.
Yeah.
But the writer me is more entertaining.
The cool you.
Yeah, the cool me.
Cool mom.
Yeah.
Cool mom Shelly.
Cool. Cool mom. I talk about soccer.
Do you think Quinny is going to call you a cool mom in about 10 years? Probably not, is what I'm saying.
No.
No.
Maybe his friends will, though.
His friends will, yeah.
Because I'm going to let him drink.
Yeah.
I'm going to buy him beer.
Your mom's the coolest. Oh, shut up. I'm still smoking. I haven't quit yet.
She lets me smoke.
I am at Greg Tito. You can ask me any questions about this crazy podcast or about Dungeons & Dragons in general. If you want to find out more about Tomb of Annihilation, which is coming out September 8th in game stores, go to DungeonsandDragons.com. You can find out all about that, including all the amazing streaming that we got going on our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/DND. We've got weekly streaming shows from a whole bunch of amazing groups. They were all introduced at the Stream of Annihilation. You can check out all those videos as well on our archive, both YouTube and on Twitch, as well as check out our weekly schedule for all of that. Please come and watch me and Shelly be crazy on Mondays at 2 p.m. That's it. That's a good sign off that I've ever heard.
So crazy.
We'll be back, guys, on our Twitch channel. We'll be back with another interview with Dan Telfer in about a couple of minutes. Hopefully it won't be too long because we got to get right into it. All right, so we'll see you guys soon.
Okay, bye.
Peace out.